Thank you. Dignitaries on the dais, PC Siriak ji, TP Srinivasan ji, Dr. Sebastian James, Advocate Vinod Matthew, Dr. Celine Philip, Mr. Arun, and all the people who are gathered here today for Kerala Dialogues. Good afternoon to all of you. First of all, my apologies. My flight was late, and I know that all of you have been waiting for quite a while. So we will jump right into the content. I'm here today to speak about the transformation that has happened in Delhi schools in the last 8 years. When we think about government schools and while there are different degrees to which schools have been reformed across the country, and different states might be in different conditions, but there are very clearly across the country a very, very deep divide. So, you know how in India it is said that your destiny is written in the palm of your hand, right? The reality of our schooling system is such that that is almost the case. That at the age of 3, when a child takes admission in school, if their parents have the money to pay expensive fees of high-end private schools, then that child will get a good school education, will probably pass out from that school, get admission into a good college, will probably pass out of that college and get a good job, a good placement, start their own business. But if you are the child of a parent who does not have this money, and you are forced, the parents are forced into sending their child into a government school, then data shows that there is a 50% chance that that child will drop out of school even before finishing their education. Even if they were to finish their education, because of the poor quality of education in government schools, even if they do finish their education, they end up leaving schools to do menial jobs. They might end up as domestic workers, they might end up as assistant in a shop, they might end up as a mechanic in a car shop. There is nothing wrong or anything lesser about being a mechanic or a domestic worker or an assistant in a shop. The problem is that in our country, more than 80% of children and 80% of young people have no choice that they can make about getting better careers. The 15-year-old, the 17-year-old who's working as a mechanic in a car shop, if he had got the right opportunity and got the right education, he could have been an engineer in Mercedes-Benz. If the child who is working as an assistant in a shop had got the right opportunity, they could be an entrepreneur or someone who has started their own startup. So despite talent, there is a very, very deep divide in India in terms of the kind of education and opportunity that children and young people are getting. And this really is the divide that the Delhi government, the Arvind Kejriwal government in Delhi, has been looking to fill, has been looking to bridge in the last 8 years. Next. So the first thing I would say, the first and most important step that the Arvind Kejriwal government was to commit 25% of its budget to education. Delhi is the first state and the only state in the country to have committed 25% of its budget. The next highest percentage is probably 15% or 16%, which any state spends on education. And for 8 consecutive years, the Aam Aadmi Party government in Delhi has given the largest share of the state budget to education and has invested in the children of the city. Now, just before I started, our honorable moderator, PC Siriak, was saying that there's a difference between Kerala and there's a difference between Delhi. And a lot of people used to say to me that, you know, Delhi is the capital, so it's easier to change things there. Delhi is a city. But let me assure you that schools in Delhi in 2015 were in a very bad shape. Now I'm going to show you some pictures of what schools used to look like 8 years ago. And this is probably not even the worst of the schools, because I remember when in 2015, Manish Sisodia ji and I was working as Manish ji's advisor at that point of time, when we would visit schools. As soon as you would enter a school, you could smell the toilet of that school even though that was 50 meters away. And because there was a shortage of infrastructure and shortage of classrooms, outside that toilet you can smell till the gate. There'll be children sitting in the corridor and a class going on over there. You would go into the classroom, often teachers would be outside the class. There would be no tables and chairs for the children to sit on. Blackboards would be broken, toilets would be dysfunctional, there would be no drinking water. This was the reality of what Delhi government schools used to look like 8 years ago. I remember going into one school in 2015. Manish Sisodia ji and I went into this school, and a lot of the classrooms in that school were just full of old furniture that no administration had bothered to get rid of. Students, they were in a hall like this, there were 8 classes going on in parallel. How will any child study? I have no idea. Children were studying on daris, and I remember there were daris next to the gate as we entered, and Manish ji picked up one of those daris. And as soon as he picked up a dari, thousands of mosquitoes flew out of that. This was the state of Delhi government schools. And so that is when we started on this journey, that the first thing that we needed to do was improve the sanitation of our schools, improve the infrastructure of our schools. And it may seem like a small thing. There so many things in education need to be changed. You need to have better curriculum, you need to have better pedagogy, and various things. But the fact of the matter is, if your school isn't clean, if you can't give the child a desk to sit on, a clean toilet to use, and drinking water, then you are giving a very clear message to the child that you are a second-class citizen and you don't matter in the world. And you are giving a message even to the teachers that this government doesn't even care about giving a clean toilet, a desk, a blackboard. So teachers also get this message that what difference does it make? And so in the first year and a half, a lot of our focus was on getting schools clean. And I remember I sometimes used to joke, because with Mr. Sisodia, we were so busy discussing that how, if there are these many number of students in the school, then you need these many bottles of hand wash and these many bottles of phenyl and these many number of sanitation workers. We used to sometimes joke, I used to tell Mr. Sisodia that I feel that I don't work in the education department, I feel I work in the sanitation department. And, but that was a very important message to give. It was an important message to give for the dignity of the students and the teachers who were studying in the schools and who were teaching in the schools. Second was infrastructure. Now a lot of educationists might say, how does infrastructure matter? A good teacher can teach even under a tree. But the fact of the matter is that everyone who says that a teacher can teach under a tree sends their own children to swanky private schools. No one sends their children to teachers who teach under trees. Right? And when a child goes into a rundown school, the message to that child is very clear, that you are a second-class citizen and you don't matter in the world, and only those children who are going to those shiny, swanky private schools, they are the only ones who are going to make it anywhere in the world. So a child in a government school who may be talented, a teacher in a government school who might be well qualified, just by the state or disrepair of the school thinks that nothing is going to happen, nothing is going to change. And so we started working on improving the quality of infrastructure, improving desks, improving how the classrooms look. And this is how classrooms in Delhi government schools look now. Next. This is one of our new school buildings. Next. This is one of our primary schools. And not just classroom infrastructure, but even sports infrastructure. We have, as of now in Delhi, 23 Olympic-sized swimming pools in our government schools, which are available to our students free of cost. Not just this, we have high-quality hockey astroturfs. We have synthetic tracks for students. We are in the process of building a world-class Olympic-sized shooting range. And so across the board, sports facilities are being given to students. And I remember the day we inaugurated the first hockey astroturf in one of our schools. There's one sports journalist who came and spoke to me and said, "Madam, you have no idea what a big thing you have done today." So I said, "Why?" He says, "One of the reasons why India has stopped being competitive in international hockey is because our students and our young players get trained playing on grass, whereas international competitions happen on astroturf, and the speed of the game is very different on grass and astroturf." So he said, by having an astroturf for students, you will see that from this area, many, many international level hockey players will come out in the next 10, 20 years. Next. In terms of labs, highest quality lab infrastructure has been given to students, and I can very confidently say, I myself have studied from one of the best private schools in Delhi. Today, Delhi government schools, especially where we have been able to build new schools, do new construction, etc. There is no private school in Delhi that can compete with the kind of infrastructure that we are giving in Delhi government schools. Next. Once the process of cleanliness, the process of infrastructure got a certain momentum, the second major focus for us was on training of our teachers and our principals. Often you hear of the fact that ministers go on foreign tours, IAS officers go on foreign tours. But the Arvind Kejriwal government decided that our teachers and the principals are the most important stakeholders in our education system. And we would send our teachers and principals to the best of the best education institutions in India and across the world. What you see over here is a picture of a group of teachers from Delhi government schools getting trained at the National Institute of Education in Singapore. And these are our Delhi government school teachers. Our teachers and principals have gone to Cambridge University, they have gone to Harvard University, they have gone to Singapore, they have gone to Finland. Even in India, our principals have gone, almost all principals of Delhi government schools have been trained at IIM Ahmedabad, the top management institution across the country. Very recently, Aam Aadmi Party has come into power even in MCD. So similar reforms have started in the municipal corporation schools also. And we had one batch of principals who went to IIM Ahmedabad for their training. When they came back from their training, we had an interaction with our chief minister. And one of the principals said something very interesting. She said that, ever since you have sent me to IIM Ahmedabad, I have become a celebrity in my locality. Everyone in my colony is saying, "Oh, madam has been to IIM Ahmedabad, madam has been to IIM Ahmedabad." There was another principal who said that when she got selected for going to IIM Ahmedabad, she says, "My son called me," she says, "My son studies in IIM Ranchi." She said, "My son called me and said that when I gave the CAT exam, I wanted to get through IIM Ahmedabad to study, but I wasn't able to get a rank good enough to go there. But you as a government school principal are going to IIM Ahmedabad." So I think one of the things that one needs to understand is that in this entire process of change, dignity and respect for all stakeholders was extremely important. See, it's not as if often when government schools don't work or government systems don't work, be it higher education, be it schools, It is very easy to point fingers at teachers and say teachers don't teach properly, teachers don't come to class. I don't know how it is in Kerala, but in North India, it is often said that teachers sit in the school and knit sweaters in the courtyard. And so it is very easy to lay blame on the teachers. But in the change that we have done in the Delhi government schools, we have not got any new teachers. It's the same teachers, it's the same principals, it's the same children, and it's the same parents who are sending their children there. And yet, this transformation has happened because those teachers, those parents, those principals have felt valued for the first time. And I think this really is one of the most important things as far as the idea of education reform or the process of education reform goes, that what we need to change is the culture of the institution. Because, for example, in any system, and this was true even in our Delhi government schools, that you have 20% outstanding teachers and principals who are teaching well even in difficult circumstances, even when no one is interested in them. You have 20% people who are very poor performers, and you can probably not change them however much you try. But there is 60% of the teachers, which is the bulk of the teachers, who will go whichever way the wind is blowing. Earlier, before the government began to show a lot of interest in education, they were tending towards the bottom 20%. That no one is interested, they wouldn't come on time, they wouldn't teach properly. Once the good teachers started getting recognition in the system, once the good teachers started getting awarded in the system, once the good teachers were getting respected in the system, then gradually the culture of the entire system changed, and 80% of the teachers became far more interested in what they were doing. And I feel this really is the biggest key for change. That change is not going to come out of taking action against the teachers. Change is not going to come out of giving cash incentives to the teachers. Change is going to come in our education system if the teachers and principals in our system begin to take pride in their jobs. That is what is going to bring change in our system. And I think that really has to be the keystone of any reform that we are bringing. So after we had done a lot of work, we have now, over the last 5-6 years, been working on infrastructure, there's a lot to be said. We've done a lot of work even on parent participation, community participation through school management committees, training of principals, teachers. And now in the last few years, a lot of our focus has been on actually improving how teaching happens in the classroom. And so one of the things that one of our initiatives has been that we have now started competitions, statewide competitions, where teachers present their best teaching learning material and their best teaching practices. And so teachers begin to take pride, and there is recognition for teachers for who teaches well in a classroom. So the teacher who gets recognized is not the teacher who is sort of the principal's assistant. The teacher who gets recognized is not the teacher who keeps hanging around the IAS officers or the ministers. The teachers who get recognized are the ones who are the best teachers in their classrooms. And this is a picture, these are some pictures previous. For example, just a few days, this picture is probably from 2 days ago, where we had this exhibition called Maths is Fun, where we had a statewide competition between maths teachers, where they brought forward and then the best ones got exhibited at a state level exhibition, where they shared some of their most interesting and innovative ways with which they are teaching maths. And this is something that we have been doing regularly, that teachers now begin to take pride in what is the best way possible that they can actually teach in their classrooms. Another new initiative that we have started in Delhi government schools, is that very often we see the fact that children who are in private schools get access to specialized training depending upon their talent. Be it training in terms of science, technology, mathematics, robotics, music, art, dance. There are many areas where children begin to develop an interest and where they begin to excel. And often training in these areas is often extremely expensive. And children who are coming from lower middle class families, who are coming from poor families, often do not have access to specialized training despite being talented in a specific field. So in the last 2 years, we have started in Delhi government what we call the schools of specialized excellence. These are schools that are only from grade 9 to 12. And in these schools, we have 4 specializations. Usually one school has 1 specialization or 2 specializations. We have about 36, 38 of these schools right now. And they are spread out across the city. And each school has a different specialization. For example, some of these are STEM schools that focus on science, technology, engineering, mathematics. Some of these are schools that specialize in performing and visual arts. Some of these schools are those that specialize in humanities. Some of these schools specialize in high-end 21st century skills. And so students, both from government schools and from private schools, take an exam to enter these schools in class 9. And the quality of these schools is so good that this year, for admission in class 9, where we had 4,800 seats, we got 90,000 applications. This is probably an even higher ratio than IIT JEE in terms of the number of engineering seats and the number of students who take the exam. Next, this is our HE21, high-end 21st century school, where the students are working with 3D printers and other activities. In fact, recently, our schools which have these high-end 21st century skills, we organized something called the Delhi Robotics League, where students of our schools created robots and they had competitions between those different robots, and we got private schools to participate. There was this one task where the robots created by them had to pick up some balls, put them in one place, and it was a highly competitive 2 days of robotics championships. And we had, I think, about 15 government schools and 15 private schools who participated in the finals. And the robotics league was won by a government school whose kids actually prepared the best performing robots. Next. We also have schools of specialized excellence for performing and visual arts, where children who might be interested, who might have special talent in art, in dramatics, in painting, in music, in photography, can take admission in class 9, and we have specialized programs for that. This is one of our virtual reality labs in our STEM schools. This is again our visual and performing arts students who are preparing an exhibition of their work. And so what we can see is the fact that in our schools, children are now getting the opportunity to perform to the best of their abilities, irrespective of their parents' ability to pay. And I think that really is the biggest difference. And not just in all of these specialized fields, I think in the last 8 years, that now we as a government don't need to speak. The results are beginning to speak for themselves. For the last 6 years, in Delhi we don't have our own board. All our schools take the CBSE exam. In Delhi, for the last 6 years, Delhi government schools have been outperforming Delhi private schools in their class 12 board exam. Not just this, every year, and this year we have crossed all records, 1,700 students from Delhi government schools cleared the JEE and NEET exam, and have gotten admission into medical colleges and engineering colleges across the country. And every year when we had the JEE and NEET results, so you have the CM and the education minister interacting with these students. And I remember last year, there was this one boy who got up, who had got admission in IIT Mandi. And he got up and said, my father works as a laborer, as a daily wage earner in a small shoe factory in West Delhi. And today, because of the kind of education you have in Delhi government schools, I am going to be a computer science engineer. And by the time he finishes his schooling, his college, he would leave his college with like a package of 12 lakh rupees, 15 lakh rupees, and within one generation can pull his family out of poverty. And there is one school in this one colony called Noor Nagar, which really is a lower class, lower middle class minority ghetto area. And from that one school this year, 33 girls cleared the NEET exam and have gotten admission in medical colleges across the country. And this is the reason why, when across the country, students, parents take out their children from government schools and admit them into private schools, Delhi is seeing a reverse trend that in the last 4 years, 3 lakh students have now shifted from private schools and gotten admitted into Delhi government schools. So it is not just, you can say that, hey, you are part of the government and you are a politician, so you are saying that your schools are so good. But that is the confidence of the people of Delhi. But we are not stopping here. Next. So these are some of our photographs of our schools of specialized excellence. But we are not stopping here because we feel that as a country, we also have bigger challenges, which the education system needs to address. These are headlines that we often see. World Happiness Report, Finland happiest, India among 10 nations with largest drop. Delhi witnesses rise in crime, 90 million more jobs needed. But our education system has not been catering to any of these issues which our country faces and people faces. And in Delhi, now we are trying to solve some of these larger global problems as well. We have started 3 mindset curriculums. Number 1, happiness curriculum. Number 2, a Deshbhakti curriculum. And number 3, an entrepreneurship mindset curriculum in our schools. The happiness curriculum was started because all of us as adults face a lot of challenges of self-confidence, of how to deal with problems, how to deal with relationships, and no one in our entire education has ever taught us all of those things. Happiness curriculum was started 3 years ago, and it was started in the presence of His Holiness the Dalai Lama. And as a part of the happiness curriculum, children get an opportunity to introspect about their own selves. The day starts with, every day of our school starts with something called a mindfulness activity, which is like a short few minutes meditation where the children get to reflect. They get to reflect about their own behavior, about their own relationships. And I have one very interesting story which I read in one newspaper article on this happiness curriculum. This one journalist had spoken to a child who was in class 6 or class 7, 12-year-old, 13-year-old. And that child said that one day my father came home from office, and he was very angry and he was very stressed. So this 13-year-old girl told her father that they teach us how to reduce stress in school in the happiness class. If you want, I can teach you also. I don't know if the father listened or not, but the fact is that if a child at the age of 12 understands their own emotions, understands their own selves, then they are going to come out of this education system as much better human beings. Next. Not just this, we have started a citizenship curriculum called the Deshbhakti curriculum, which is related to the issue. So the happiness curriculum is about the self and relationships with people around you. The Deshbhakti curriculum is about your role in the society and in the country. And this is basically about instilling a true sense of patriotism. That patriotism is not just cheering for India in an India-Pakistan match. What does it mean to be a citizen in your day-to-day life? What is it that you can contribute to your country? Like when you, even just a small example that children can understand. What does it mean? Are you if you litter on the streets, are you a patriot or are you not a patriot? If you are a corrupt officer and you take bribes, are you a patriot or are you not a patriot? So basically instilling in children the values of contributing to their country, of contributing to their society. Next. And the biggest problem that the country faces at this moment is the problem of unemployment. A lot of our youth are studying in schools, are studying in colleges and not getting any jobs. India probably has, in fact, some of the recent data shows that there were at least more than 4 crore unemployed youth in India currently. Now the problem is our entire education system is just preparing students to find good jobs. A lot of the youth in our country spends 10 years of their most productive youth in giving exams for government jobs. 1 exam, 2nd exam, 3rd exam, 4th exam. But if all students, if all young people are going to be job seekers, then who will be the job creator? And that is the problem that we are looking to solve by the entrepreneurship mindset curriculum in our schools, where in class 9 to 12, we run this curriculum. And a very important component out of that is something called the Business Blasters program in class 11 and 12, where every child gets some seed money. Small amount, 2,000 rupees, but they can form groups of up to 10 students and start their own little startups. Whatever profit they make is theirs. So last year, the government invested about 60 crores in this. Out of 3 lakh children participated, and 50,000 student startups were created out of this program. Not just this, there are many students who even before passing out of their schools have registered their own private limited companies. And I had a meeting with a group of students who are now in class 12, who were sharing their Business Blasters ideas, projects. And there was this young boy who said that our startup was about logistics and this and that. And along with his class 12 schooling, he is now running a logistics company that employs 15 people, all of whom are older than him. There was another group, because now online gaming has become a very big thing. They set up an online gaming platform. They got children in their school and nearby schools to participate in the games and tournaments against each other. And in 6 months of running this online gaming platform, these 4 boys of class 11 earned 5 lakh rupees. And out of that money, now they're preparing a proper gaming platform, getting a GST number, all before they have passed out of school. And there was this another group of students who started preparing these low-cost Bluetooth speakers. This basically came out of the COVID lockdown times when they all needed speakers for online classes. And here we had this group of investors who were willing to invest money into the businesses. So they were, like Shark Tank, they were asking questions of these young entrepreneurs who were our students. And one of these investors asked this group that, you're a very small group of people, why should I invest in you? How will you expand your business? Right now, you are doing manufacturing, marketing, everything. So this girl who's in class 12, in a government school, when all her peers are preparing for IIT JEE exam, says that, no sir, in the last 3 months, we have earned enough profits, and if you invest in us, this year we are going to hire 3 electrical engineers from the batch that is passing out of IIT Delhi. So I think that this confidence that these children who are now going to be passing out of Delhi government schools are not going to be standing in lines getting. This entire generation of students who now passes out of Delhi government schools will be job creators. In fact, they are already job creators even before they have passed out. And I think that this really is going to be the next revolution that is going to come out of Delhi government schools. Thank you so much. And there is a lot of other things to share. I would like to invite all of you that if you get the opportunity, please do come visit our Delhi government schools. One thing that I firmly believe, that if there is one change that is going to take India to a #1 position in the world, it is investing in our children's education. We are such a talented country. Almost the CEOs of some of the biggest companies in the world today are Indians. You go into some of the biggest hospitals across the world, you'll find that some of the best doctors, the head of department doctors, they're all Indian. You go into software companies, you'll find all their engineers are Indian. You go into universities, you'll find some of the top research scientists are Indian. But it is because we have not been able to create the right educational opportunities for them in India that this talent has not been able to contribute to India's development. So I think if we as a country can give each child, irrespective of their ability to pay, the best of the best education, nothing can stop India from becoming the biggest superpower in the world, from becoming the #1 in the world. Thank you.